caregivers and supporters to be competent, committed, and compassionate. Core competencies, and even wanting to, are just not enough. Only knowing what to do, how to do, when to do, wanting to do, still keeps care and support workers and their leaders dependent on their moods, their likes and their dislikes, being appreciated, workload and stress, being held accountable, their personalities, in addition to important core competencies, values, and wanting to. All caregivers and supporters must develop their personal and professional mindful emotional maturity, discover their innate compassion beyond feelings, disengage from their personal insecurities that cause burnout, freak out, and tune out, and demonstrate meaning, purpose, and heart in all that they do.
Okay, I'd like to just talk about this graphic for maybe 10 or 15, because this graphic, which is in your handout, I call it my conscious, compassionate care and support. And there's 5 steps to it, and this is the model that I teach in conscious care and support and in the book, as you know. And there's 5 steps. Now, at the conscious, compassionate care level, this is the ultimate where we're at. We want to be able to offer compassionate care. We want to be able to be conscious when we're doing it. We want to be able to be really kind, and we want to make sure our best self is coming forward. So that's where we're trying to go with it, right? Now, it's being useful, truthful, kindly in your speech and your actions. It's just being with someone the way you describe being treated when I ask you to, to complete the sentences of I feel, right? So that is the first step in the process. Then the next step is to make that happen. Like, you're not going to make that happen unless you can become consciously connected. Conscious connecting is critical to making that happen. If you cannot be aware that you're there and being connected with someone, it's not going to be as complete an experience for them or for you. So I intend and I become unconditionally compassionate. Now, let me tell you how important this is. About 20 years ago, just 20 years ago, in Italy, a science team out of one of their universities, a scientist was doing an experiment with rhesus monkeys. This is fascinating research if you haven't heard this. I mean, we need to know this in this sector so badly. The scientist, or the technician, had the monkey hooked up to functional MRI, which is just an MRI that you've had, only functional means that you're getting a hit every millisecond or every half a second or whatever. So you get a lot of pictures. So that's the way that a lot of research is done on neurology, by the way. So the technician was feeding the monkey a banana and looking at what was happening in the brain as the monkey looked at the banana, ate the banana, and did what it does. So they were tracking the brain patterns, right? Here's what happened. The technician went on break. This has actually happened. Left the MRI on, and the monkey hooked up because they're going to do some more experiments after. A colleague came in to the lab and saw a bowl of bananas there and grabbed one and started eating it. And you know what happened on the functional MRI that the monkey was hooked up to? The monkey's brain waves went into the exact same patterns watching that person eat the banana as it did when they were eating the banana. This was the discovery of something that they're calling mirror neurons. And for us, it is both good news and terrible news. It is wonderful news because it means that if we approach someone who we're supporting with the kinds of openness that I've been talking about all morning, then that person gets entrained into where we are coming from. If we are feeling calm, happy, resilient, passionate, there is a strong indicator that that person, they can have very low functioning cognition, they can have very low whatever, but there is a mirror neuron transfer, and we all have these mirror neurons, right? That's the great news. The bad news, where do you think I'm going to go with this? What's the bad news? We have a bad day. Guess what? I have, because of my consulting practice, I have done hundreds of investigations on serious occurrences and critical instances. And I got to tell you, I would say high in the 70%, I can see a significant influence of the worker contributing to that serious occurrence. Not out of malice, not out of any, I mean, these are good people. Don't hear that. Hear people who've not developed their ability to, in that moment. And hey, this is no small matter. You're in the presence, let's say, of someone who's at a level 2 or 3 escalating behavior, and your autonomic nervous system is saying, freeze, fear, fight, or flight. Guess what? That's where you're going. And as you start to get those levels of vibrations happening in you, you push them back over there. And theirs push them back to you, and you push them back over there. And you have this happening. And believe me, the science that I'm talking about here will fill this room. This is not about what Peter's saying is kind of sketchy and a new idea out of the altered state of California. No, it is real. And this is what we're trying to kind of get with. Now let me show you how vulnerable we are, the untrained us, at having a situation move into a limbic brain situation where we're now just in survival mode. Get this research out of University of Wisconsin. They interview how many subjects they want, and they find people that have not a passionate, I got to get Obama elected or else, the world's going to go to heck in a handbasket. Not that level of passion, but just someone says, I'm a registered Democrat and I always vote. That's who are in these studies, okay? Been replicated all over the states, but this, I know the Wisconsin one because of my connections with the lab there. Then they put this person under functional MRI, and they just say one word to this Democrat. Know what the word is? They say Republican. And blood, immediately, a lot of blood starts to flow from the prefrontal cortex back into the limbic brain. One word that was contrary to what this person felt is where it needs to be. One word, right? You know how we are locked into, unless we awaken, into not being conscious and not consciously connecting. So intentionality and bringing ourselves, the best self we can. Now, likely now is a good time in this wrap to say this. We're all human, okay? And you guys, as I say, I've already said you're at the top of any group that I've worked with in terms of your compassion and your skill sets. And I don't say that just because I'm here. I don't say that very often, to be honest with you. Garrett's been with me on other talks, and he'll attest to that. I don't really go there, because I don't need to go there. I give my thing, and I really hope people do it, and I try to walk the walk. But when I say to you, you're really up there. But what I just have to add that there's room for more. But don't think that this is, oh, wow, geez, I don't have any of this, and what am I ever going to do? Don't go there at all. I mean, in terms of where we are, you guys are doing really well. But I bring this to you saying, like, if you want to get, kind of your even better game going, I did my part thing, then this is why I bring it to you. So if that's okay, disclaimer. Clarify and choose. For those of you that work with me, you know about the filters work that we do, looking at, those childhood preconditions that bring us into, I must be perfect in order to be worthwhile. I cannot be criticized by others, otherwise it's awful. I need approval from other people to have any self-worth at all. I must never, ever be out of control, which is my filter. And many other filters, we talk about 12 in the course. Those filters, once understood and somewhat reframed, can then bring us to being able to, in this moment, clarify the needs of the situation. And unless you clarify where you're coming from, the likelihood of you consciously connecting is more limited, and the likelihood of you being a compassionate person is more limited. I mean, this is strong neurology. These neural pathways of filters that I talk about, they'll die an hour after we do. I've been at this for thousands of hours. I've been, on a really proactive, personal growth program for like 35, almost 40 years, and I still get hits of anxiety when I am going into a situation where I'm going to be out of control. But because of my training, I'm on it in a second, and I start looking at my left arm. When I start getting anxious, my left arm goes weak, and I have tightness over here. That's the first thing I look for, and then I just kind of let it go. And so long as I don't hold it like that and I let it go, then my anxiety level drops, because all your feelings and thoughts first start in the body. The body is the seat of every thought and feeling you have. Like Candace Pert is doing some great work around neuropeptides and stuff like that. She says, you think with your knee as much as you do your brain up here. Because these neurotransmitters, or excuse me, these neuropeptides go all through your body. So you got to get a handle on this body, right? But we all have these filters. It's not a problem of having the filters. Everybody has them, and they can be positive and they can be not so positive. The thing is to know you're having them at the moment and know kind of what you can do to reframe them and to be through them. It's not a matter so much of getting rid of, oh yeah, you can, I mean, as, you know the money back guarantee I give in this stuff is you're not going to have as many emotional hijacks, and that's a fact. You're not going to have as intense hijacks, and that's a fact. And your recovery time will be quicker. That's a fact. Those three I will bet the boat on. Now, you're not going to be able to even get to that clarifying unless you can get calm. There's a calmness needs to come. There's a calmness needs to kind of build on this thing, because like I said, Republican, Democrat, just whatever. I mean, think of all the things that you're more or less wed to and are really important, and that people, you know, kind of say things or do things differently, let alone when you're asked to support people who are struggling to be, you know, even not agitated, let alone aggressive. And this is what we're asking of us. And so the need to learn to be calm and, you know, butterfly hug and all those things, as well as doing just a little practice each morning in terms of meditative practice, mindfulness, whatever it is that helps you, even mindfully listen to some good music. I mean, that goes a long, long way. Now, the last one, I've done this upside down for a reason, as you can likely see. This whole thing begins with catching yourself in the moment. If I don't know I'm in the moment, that is happening with, you know, behavior happening, or with a coworker who is, you know, is doing something not the way I would do, or she's criticizing me behind my back, or whatever it is, right? If I don't catch myself in that moment that's starting to get into being problematic, all of this is for naught, I think. I mean, this is my model, and I'm prejudiced to it, but believe me, I've looked at not only my life, but hundreds and hundreds of folks that I built this on, and I say catch, calm, clarify, consciously connect, and then you can compassionately care. But if you can't get at the catching stage, if you can't get at that then calming yourself stage, because calming begins with, oh, Peter's aware that he's becoming hijacked. That's where it starts, right? And then move up. Okay, now that I know I'm being hijacked, now I can get into a calming. And I might just, and even around like Community in Cambridge, which is just a loving family to be around, there are times when I've had to kind of just wiggle my toes in my shoes. And that's the way I get calm. See, I'm tapping. When I wiggle my left toes and my right toes, my left toes and my right toes, no one even knows I'm doing it, but I'm bringing myself to calm. And let's say a meeting that, you know, is really important. I mean, we're looking at a life here, and we need to be able to come up with some creative strategies and something. And so my natural out of control filter is saying, watch it, you're losing control of the situation, you gotta say something bright right now. And that's what my chattering mind's doing, right? So I catch myself in the moment, I watch that chattering mind, watch what's happening in the body, bring myself to calm, then I can get into clarifying kind of what's best to do in the moment. And that's where each of us need to be, right? So with that, you've then got a chance to bring yourself into being the best that you can possibly be.